Okay, it's been a while since I did a Problems I Have With. I gotta find a way to get back in the zone, to fire myself up again. How am I gonna do that?
Wait, I am angry. Woo! There he goes. Really, man?
What's up everyone, John from Beyond ARTV. It is time for another installment in my long-running Problems I Have With series. It's something that I do sporadically, and I know it's been a while, but I do plan on bringing back this and some rants in the near future. I know you guys love those, so be sure to leave a like on this video before we get started here today. So obviously, you saw the title of the video, Fueled by Ramen. Who are they? Some of you might not know. Some of you might even love bands on this record label, but not even know who they are. Fueled by Ramen was founded in 1996, 21 years ago at this point, and they've had a lot of success. They're an imprint of Atlantic Records, and they've started signing a lot of like indie, smaller, emo, rock, alternative type bands, and the mid-2000s was just catered to them and the type of bands they were getting, like Paramore, and Cute Is What We Aim For, and The Academy Is. They had a lot of success, and they had a great run going really from like 2004 until maybe like 2013-14. After the huge success of their band Fun, We Are Young was such a smash single, I started seeing some issues with the label. Things started to go downhill, and if you guys have never seen Problems I Have With before, it's a series where I talk about issues that I see, and I don't always condemn something completely because obviously I like a lot of the bands on this label. I would dare say I love some of them, and I don't mind every single thing that they do, but they have a lot of annoying as hell practices that I just cannot get past lately, and it's time to stop. It's time to back off, and it is time to do things differently. So if you know anything about Fueled by Ramen, you know that nowadays they seem to cater to these big bands that can achieve these massive fandoms. And they also sign other acts like Swimmers, Basement, Vinyl Theater, Floor, and then it just seems like after they sign them, they don't really promote them that much, or else they promote them on the first album cycle, and then after that, they wonder why they're not successful, and we've seen that in the past with bands like Cute Is What We Aim For, or even as recent as some of their signees like Vinyl Theater. They just kind of get dropped in the front bottoms. You wouldn't even know that they're on that label if you didn't research it. In fact, my problem here goes into the fact that they will act like they promote these bands, and they will, like right around their release date. But for Vinyl Theater, they're a band that have great music, and they deserve every bit of a chance as much as Paramore or 21 Pilots do. But do they get that chance? No, because I don't feel like Fueled by Ramen is like, oh, well, we can't give them the dollars because these songs aren't going to attract the rabid fans or anything like that. So they did not even on the last album cycle for Origami that just came out in May, which after a lot of stalling it came out in May. On that album cycle, they didn't even give them the production budget for a music video. Do you know how damning that can kind of be to not have some sort of presence, or at least kind of have something that at least garners some attention from viewers? Because upload the audio to the channel, sure, but they made this band like drop all 4 songs at one time, and then that was in February, and they really didn't say much else until the album dropped in May. In fact, they even moved the album because Paramore were like, hey, we're gonna drop our album on May 12th, so Vinyl Theater's gonna have to get bumped, and so they had to move the release date again. They moved it up a week to May 5th. So I just feel bad for bands like that. They get thrown around just because maybe they can't attract the attention, but at the same time, who knows? If you gave them the kind of chance and exposure that you give to bands like All Time Low and Panic at the Disco, maybe they would actually achieve that kind of success. You can't downplay some of these bands on the label that don't get enough love, like Young the Giant. They're absolutely fantastic, and sure, I would say that they're more in the middle in terms of like the success that they've seen on Fueled by Ramen, and I think a lot of that has to do with a very strong fan base that they already had before signing to the label. But I've noticed something lately, especially with these bands that are moving over to the label, or since we've moved into this heavily marketed generation that we're in right now. We're in the period of using strands of emojis and relatable GIFs and stuff like that to promote our material. And as those kind of come in an influx, I feel like the quality of sales and the quality of music is going down. It's sailing downward and trending downward over time. And I really just think the best example of that is with All Time Low's most recent album. They just signed to Fueled by Ramen like a year ago. Of course, that was secret for a while, but the album was Last Young Renegade. Now, you might know, if you follow All Time Low or Fueled by Ramen, that they had an album coming out because they were tweeting about it non-stop. And even the way that I feel like they had the band members doing things, it all felt very controlled, very forced. Everything was just not natural and didn't feel right this time around with All Time Low. And that was weird to me because they're a band that I've loved for so long, and they were on Hopeless Records for the longest time, except for one record on Interscope, which we will not talk about because even the band admitted that was a bad idea. Here, once they signed to Fueled by Ramen, they got more promotion than they have ever had before because they have the forces of Fueled by Ramen and the hands over at Atlantic. Yet, did the album meet the expectations? Did it perform so well? And we're just like, wow, all of those annoying pre-order tweets were worth it? No. In fact, just 2 years ago, they released Future Hearts, and it did 80,000 first week. That is sales plus streaming. And if you know anything about how the charts work, you know, like I believe it's like 10 track streams equals 1 sale, and that factors into the overall streaming and plus sales aspect. They did 80,000 first week in 2015. So 2 years later, obviously things in the music industry are trending downward for like first week sales, big numbers and that sort of thing. I would have expected maybe something in the 60,000 range, 65 for All Time Low, because they do have a very, very rabid fan base. Did they get that? No, they debuted with just over 30,000 first week. That is frightening. That is frighteningly low for the amount of time and energy that Fueled by Ramen just wasted, just whoring them out, essentially, posting all of these things. And it's not just them, it's for Paramore, 21 Pilots, Panic at the Disco. They're big bands that they feel like they can just really cash in on. And I'm thinking that maybe people are starting to see through that, and I'm hoping that that's the case. And of course, the quality of the music all seems to be watered down at this point. Fueled by Ramen has a tendency of having bands come on, and then they put out something that's a little bit sketch. I mean, other than their bands that have been on the label for a long time, it's just like Basement came over, and then all of a sudden they have a reworked version of one of their songs that drops. And yeah, it was totally processed and much more smooth and radio friendly and that sort of thing. And it's weird that Fueled by Ramen seems to want all of their bands to kind of go for this similar, more poppy sound. And you can definitely see that with All Time Low and some of their other acts that they've signed as well. And it's weird to see the trend in that direction. It's not just Fueled by Ramen, but I feel like the pressure is on for a lot of bands and labels. And even though it might not be as direct as I think it is, I think that there's still somebody maybe whispering over their shoulder being like, hey, we need to do this. But then again, I could just be speculating and maybe these bands want to do that. That's fine. But from the marketing aspect, it's been a complete disaster. That album debuted at number 9, which is already much lower than their last release, which was number 2 for All Time Low. But after the first week, instead of like Future Hearts dropping to number 30 on the album's chart, on the album's 200 chart on Billboard, this one completely tanked by falling off of the damn charts. Holy shit, if that doesn't scream fail and like wake up, you're doing something wrong, then I don't know what does. They desperately pander on social media, constantly trying to get people to pre-order or to listen or to go check out something. And it's just so constant that I think people are losing interest in it because it's just like, holy shit, stop. And maybe they get muted, maybe they get blocked or unfollowed in the timeline. And it's just like, guys, if we're not learning anything from this, then what are we gonna do moving forward? And I feel like a lot of Fall Out Boy and Panic at the Disco fans would agree with me on that. As a fan of both of those bands, their accounts got so toxic at points from Fueled by Ramen and Crush Management, the people controlling over those accounts. It just got to the point where I couldn't stand it anymore, and I muted both of the accounts because it was just trash. It was garbage, and it felt like they were only catering to the 13 to 14-year-old fans. And once again, this is a problem that is spreading like wildfire over just music journalism and journalism in general. And please, can we stop? I'm not 12. Most of the people in the world that are looking at and reading this stuff are probably not 12 to 14 years old. And not saying that 12 to 14-year-olds all love the same things and all want relatable strings of emojis and that sort of thing. It gets absolutely ridiculous. That, along with the amount of songs that they force these bands seemingly to release on Fueled by Ramen before the record even drops. Panic at the Disco, Death of a Bachelor, we heard 5 or 6, I think one of the songs, Golden Days, appeared on ESPN. So like 6 out of only 10 songs premiered before the fucking album dropped. I don't want to hear that many songs. In fact, I just saw that Hoodie Allen run a poll the other day, and he said, how many songs would you like to hear before an album drops? And most people voted for 2. And that makes sense. Like, thank you. It seems like even the fans don't want to be bombarded with this nonsense of leaking the entire album pretty much, or at least the majority of it. All Time Low released like 4 or 5 songs. Paramore, of course, they had a shortened release schedule because, once again, they're one of those veteran bands on the label. I think they get a little bit more of a say in how they do things, but they only had about a month, but still, within like 2 weeks, they released 2 songs. And yeah, it just seems to be to the point where they're just like, all right, we don't know what works. We're just losing it over here. Everybody else is just releasing a couple of songs. We're just going to release even more. We're just going to drop like half the album and hope that increases sales, and maybe it'll create pre-orders, maybe they'll buy merch, and that's just how I see them over there freaking out at their office, like shaking in their shoes because they don't know how to go into this new era. Fueled by Ramen, please calm down, chill out, look at me. It's gonna be okay. We just need to sit down and figure out a different way to do this. A huge problem with this label is that they absolutely play favorites, and it's seen so clearly. Just look back to Versa Emerge, or else Versa you might know them as. You might remember them for having a couple of hits. I believe Whisperer was one, and then Stuck at Zero or something like that. Fixed at Zero, that was the name of their record that came out, and I was a big fan of that, and it came out and it kind of flew under the radar. It didn't get a lot of promotion, but at the same time, we started seeing that other members were leaving that band, and I was like, wow, why are they doing that? Like, why is everybody taking off? It just seems like, you know, maybe they were about to blow up, maybe they were onto something. But those 2 main members, I believe it was Blake and, if I will blur myself out if that was incorrect, but those were the 2 main members of the band, the one that like did the songwriting, and then they started being the ones that did all of the interviews. And the bassist stuck around for the longest time, but he started noticing that because he wasn't as sellable or as marketable, like say maybe like Brendan Urie or Haley Williams was, or even the leaders of Versa Emerge, he started seeing that he was being forced out, and he was barely scraping by on $1,000 a month, begging Fueled by Ramen basically to do something for him, to up his salary or the cut that he was getting from merch sales or something. And he had to scrape by on that. Living out in like LA, $1,000 a month just seems impossible. I mean, it would be impossible for me, and I don't even live somewhere where those expenses are so high. And they did all the press. They got all of the glory for everything. Meanwhile, he was barely getting by at $1,000 per month, and he stuck it out for so long because he thought, these are my friends. But it seems like they just feed into the mentality of, oh, the leaders are the important ones, or the main and most marketable members are the most important ones. Let's just not care about the rest of the band. Maybe that's why Cute Is What We Aim For at one time lost all of their members except for the lead singer. And Panic at the Disco, there's only 1 member left now. Obviously, tensions within bands are a huge part of it as well, but I'm sure label politics aren't exactly a huge positive in those scenarios. So, overall, to recap everything that's been going on with Fueled by Ramen, they're being annoying as hell with the way that they market things. They need to rethink everything because it's not working, clearly. I think that the marketing is a huge thing that needs to be worked on, their presence online, and just in general, music journalism, we need to do better. I include myself in that. We need to just stop trying to be a certain thing or appeal to one certain type of person. You need to hit different things, and that's why I feel like music is all kind of sounding the same and running together these days. Now, obviously, I don't think every band on this label sounds the same way, and 21 Pilots, Paramore, it seems like they have more control of their social media accounts, and I definitely am okay with following them because it's much more tame, even though they do have very rabid fan bases, especially T.O.P. So I don't always have a problem. It's just the fact that obviously they're whoring them out for likes and other things so much, and they post the trashiest, most cliched, like throw up in my mouth type memes, relatable type shit. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I realize that some of this stuff might sound petty, but seriously, it's one of those things where it digresses further and further, and if we don't say anything about it, then it's just going to keep getting worse. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like on the video, and let me know if there's anything else that you'd like to see me do problems I have with on in the near future. Some of it was facts, some of it was speculation, a lot of it was my opinion, so let me know what you think about Fueled by Ramen in the comment section down below, and if you're able to help videos like this keep coming on YouTube, my Patreon link is right over here. This isn't exactly the most advertiser-friendly series, so if you're able to support, it definitely helps. If you want to check out the full playlist, Problems I Have With, right here, another recent video right here, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on future content on Beyond ARTV.